This idea that in today's economy, especially with a Facebook, which is a public company now, it has to show quarterly results in order to get great stock prices, which means if they want to raise more money, they can do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as opposed to, say, 200 years ago, or maybe that wasn't true, as opposed to, say, 1,000 years ago, talk about this need for growth, especially these Silicon Alley companies, and why it's the wrong paradigm and why it brings us these dehumanizing results, if I'm summarizing that correctly.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I did the history on it, and again, America wasn't even around when this became embedded in business, but there was a healthy peer-to-peer economy that was emerging in the late Middle Ages. Once the guys came back from the Crusades, they had opened up these trade routes and they brought back all these other innovations like the bazaar, which we called the marketplace, local currencies, market monies that were basically like poker chips that were issued in the morning just to prime trade between people in the market, and then they expired in the evening. So they developed a peer-to-peer economy that led to the rise of the peasant class into the burghers, into the became the bourgeois. The problem was the aristocracy got poor as the burghers got wealthy, so they used laws to prevent all of this. They invented the chartered monopoly, which is the proto-corporation, which said no one's allowed to do business except the king's charter. Okay. And they invented central currency, which said you're not allowed to use these market monies anymore that are all optimized for velocity. You have to use coin of the realm, borrow it at interest and pay it back so the wealthy could stay wealthy simply by being wealthy. And that crushed the economy. That led to the plague. That led to, you know, it required growth. So it was great for colonialism. It's what allowed us to, or what spurred us on to take over, you know, America and South America and Africa and enslave all these people and take all their stuff. Right. You know, and it worked for that. But then what happens? You eventually you reach a wall, which we did at the end of World War II. Where do we expand to? These little countries and brown people, they're fighting back. You know, what are we going to do? So we did Bretton Woods, which is another set of history, basically do virtual extraction and extortion, use the World Bank, use the IMF. Here's some money to develop with. Just pay us back twice what we gave you. You know, and so you're be in our system. And the internet, rather than pushing back on that, rather than changing that, rather than retrieving that peer-to-peer economy, which it really could and still could do, it doubled down on that extractive model. So instead of having the British East India Trading Company or Walmart going into a new territory, extracting all the value from that system and then moving on to another one, we have Uber doing it and Amazon doing it or Facebook trying to do it. So the idea of a company that can reach a certain size and then sustain itself by having revenue and giving its shareholder dividends, that's anathema to this economy. Imagine if you told your shareholders today, don't worry, we're not going to grow anymore. We're going to give you great dividends. They don't want dividends. Dividends are taxed high. Capital gains are taxed low. Why? Because the whole economy is configured for this growth model, which worked for colonial expansion, but doesn't work for a planet that's trying to find a sustainable equilibrium.
Right. So we're maturing now. There's not all these, like you said, huge places with natural resources we can exploit. And now we're still on this growth model. So we're kind of eating ourselves inside.
Right. We're mining human time and human attention. That's why even Wired said it. We're living in an attention economy. And because human attention is the only thing that's scarce, but human attention is the only thing we have. That's our time. Right. They're buying and selling human time, and that's our lives.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.